So the reason why I hold men to such a high standard is because as somebody who is constantly learning more and more about the labor of women, especially mothers, the more I learn, the more I'm being shown, the more I'm told, the more I discover, the more I feel a sense of injustice for how much work women are doing. And I'm not even talking about myself, I'm talking about other women. And so once I see it, I can't unsee it. And once I see it, the more I see it, right? And the more I start to get angry about it, like angry for these women. And the more mindful I therefore become of how much all this extra labor that's not paid, that's not appreciated, that's demanded and expected of women, and not even valued, although valued because it's necessary, but not valued monetarily, not valued in our society. And yet the entire society hinges on so much of this labor. The more I see it, the more I want to not create more labor. The more I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. The more I am more thoughtful about the way I move, the way I'm less judgmental. So let me give you some examples, because there is no better place to see women doing an insane amount of labor than on vacation. So I am on family vacation, like French family vacation, and half of France is down here right now. And so I am around a lot of children and a lot of families, and especially a lot of exhausted mothers. And I used to, so let me just talk about my own, the way I am becoming less judgmental and more understanding and empathetic, is that as somebody who actually was a nanny for a while, and I'm also an aunt and have taken care of children enough to know that, wow, this is the hardest job ever. I don't want to do this unless I'm literally getting paid. So that gave me insight into just how much work parenting is, but even it's not, because I'm just like part-time. I'm not like, I will never know those children as well as their mothers do. I will never predict the crisis and have like a thermometer up their butt all the time the way mothers do. Watching a mother just like talk and even I've even seen my sister read a book and really be into the book and then go, hey, blah, 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 and then just go back. And I'm like, dang it. Like never resting. There's always a part of the mothers that I know that's mind is like watching the kid, even if they're not watching them, they just know what's happening somehow. Not all moms, obviously. And so just getting a peek into the life of parents, but especially mothers, because we know that patriarchy usually forces mothers to do way more work than they should, because fathers won't. They can, they won't, they choose not to. So like for instance, yesterday I was riding my bike and there was a woman with 3 small children, like hanging out in the bike lane. There's plenty of benches, there's plenty of stuff. First, as a biker who like A, doesn't want to run over children, B, just gets annoyed with people who are just in the bike lane when there's like massive sidewalks all over. I was like, ugh. And then first thing I noticed, I was like, oh, Mom, let me give some grace. And then I realized, oh, they're sitting on the only piece of shade there is anywhere on a really hot day, desperately trying to get these small children, including 2 toddlers, to eat. So I was like, nope. Not a problem, Melanie. You know what I mean? Instead of the old, less educated or less thoughtful or empathetic or understanding Melanie would have been like, ugh. Or like, I used to even think moms are like selfish. I'm like, God, they're so not. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even told y'all I have had that thought before. So, whatever. I know that some parents can be really annoying. I'm not saying that's not true. But what I am saying is that because of the more I learn and the more exhausted I see that mothers are, and that vacation is not a vacation for them. It's just like more work. It seems to be more work than non-vacation, because not only are they parenting all these kids, they got kids, they're planning all this stuff, they're packing their stuff, they're like the beach. When I watch children enter this beach with family, I'm like, it's a mess. All the toys, the buckets, the shovels. Hope y'all can hear me. The umbrellas, the sand everywhere. These kids are covered in sand. The possible drowning threat all the time. So they're having to watch their kids all the time. They're feeding their kids on sand. Sorry, it's really windy. I hope you can hear me. Feeding their kids, the sunscreen maintenance. Just having to constantly reapply the sunscreen. Hats, umbrellas that blow over. Mine blew across the beach today. It's dangerous to keep these. Anyway. And they're doing all that in addition to all the parenting they're already doing. There's no childcare, except for here, at least in France. They usually have grandparents around or families around, whereas most of the U.S. American families I know are like moms are just on their own without the support of the state or family close by. Not always, but most people, circles I run in, they don't live in the states that they were raised in. Most of them are artists and had to move far away for that. Anyway, so there's all that. Then there's like all the stuff they pack, like it's packing to go on vacation, packing to go to the beach, packing, right? And not only that, but you like clearly, and having just been on a vacation, a family vacation with my American family with children, and and another family vacation, children are really out of their element on vacation. Having been, an outside wilderness guide for children and teenagers, there's one thing I know about kids and teenagers and people in general is they like routine. They like a sense of safety. They like something that like some sort of routine, like even in the most, when I led backpacking trips, every day the weather was different. The terrain was different. One of the meltdowns of one of the kids is going to be different. One of the boys would threaten fights. Like there was always chaos all day long. But the one thing we had control over, the one thing that made them feel safe was they knew exactly how their day was going to start. We didn't know where we were going to sleep, but we knew that we packed the tents up first thing pack your bags, then pack the tents and everything. Then you put your bags in a line. And then we go make food. You know what I mean? Every night before night, we have our evening meeting. And as soon as we get to camp, sorry, there's that guy. This guy. He just always, first thing you did when you got to camp, you always put your bags in a line, and then you put the tents up. There was like a little bit of order within the chaos to help ground people so that everything wasn't unpredictable all the time. So anytime people are traveling, and I used to work in tourism, right, raft guide, and just in tourist town, and we called them sheeple for a reason, because tourists in general don't have that familiar. They can't go into like robot mode because they don't know where they are, so they're just kind of overwhelmed all the time. So imagine parents who are overwhelmed because they're in a new place. Even if they know this place, it's still kind of new. They don't know anyone around. They don't have the normal neighbors, their school, their routine. Then you have children thrown into that who are like, children on vacation are a nightmare. Not always. It's fun, but like, I don't know if I've ever talked to a mom who went on vacation who wasn't exhausted after that vacation, utterly exhausted. And they're doing all this to create memories and also to go to pretty places and have, family time and There's all these reasons to do. And it seems like in the end it's worth it. But still, all I see when I see moms on vacation is labor. And I see it because I pay attention now. And what's interesting is that, so Anthony watches all my stuff. He has for a long time. He's learned so much about patriarchy just from listening to me talk and reading the comments of all the women who leave endless stories about their lives and the impact of like patriarchy and stuff like that on their lives. So he's learned so much just from listening to women. And so now I've kind of ruined it for him. He already kind of knew all this was there and he'd see it, but now he sees it everywhere all the time. And what does that make him do? Like me, the more I learn, the more thoughtful I am, the more empathetic I am, and the more of a sense of justice I feel for the people who are doing all this stuff and that are burdened with all this extra work. And it's not just moms, like, because I'm trying to unlearn all when my own inner ableism, my own internalized misogyny, my own little inner capitalism, my own like the whiteness that is I was indoctrinated in. So I see like labor everywhere. Extra labor is unfairly put on different groups of people, or how much people have to work to survive, and especially now that I've got like this hypermobility stuff, I'm finally also accepting that I have all these limitations. I have to carry like a stool or a cane with me when I go to events now because I can't stand, and I was in denial of that for a really long time. So just being more aware, more empathetic, more thought, which then makes me judge people less, or at least give them more grace and more understanding, and also try to not create more unnecessary labor or judgment or cruelty. Unintentionally. Like, I don't mean to be cruel or like not thoughtful, but when you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, if you don't change your behavior, then you're a jerk. And that is why I have very little patience for men whose wives and partners have told them, they've been telling us, if you just tell them, they tell them. Maybe, and we tell them in a way, women, we've been conditioned to just be so, just put kid gloves on when we talk about things. We try this and we try that, and then we try to be more direct. They either take the message and they take the lesson and they change, or they don't. But I have very little grace, very little patience for men who know better but don't do better. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't mean you're not going to still mess up. I still will catch myself being so unbelievably selfish or just judgmental because of me not understanding something. I'm probably going to be unlearning and unpacking this till the day I die. But as soon as I know, I catch myself, try to do better. So Men who are not willing to do that, I hope you die alone. You deserve it.